Hey everybody, welcome back to Disappointing Your Demons. My name is Ron. I am a grateful recovering alcoholic. Sorry about the lighting situation and everything. Still haven't really got my apartment set up yet, and don't really have a good place to film, so I'm coming at you from the car yet again. But it is what it is, and I just got to do what I got to do, right? So I want to talk a little bit about a couple of things. First and foremost is that I just want to say thank you to everybody that sent me well wishes and everything about the move. And I really appreciate all the support and help and everything and well wishes that I got from everybody. It really does mean the world to me. And I appreciate it more than you can know. Um, but boy, does being back up north here feel freaking great. Like, I got off the plane, and like I think I said before, it was just like a huge sigh of relief. And a few people, more than a few people, have said to me, man, you got sober, and where it was basically impossible to get sober, and you stayed sober, and they just uh, the outpouring of support, even in that and everything, is just, man, it really means a lot. Like, I agree to an extent that I got sober in the place that was impossible to get and stay sober, but at the same time, you know what? It's all a mindset. It's all in how you approach it. And I just did it one day at a time. And God willing, in a little bit over a week, I will have a year sober. Um, so yeah, go me. uh, but with all that being said, I'm gonna change up my approach a little bit, because again, I try not to advocate for any one recovery program, but AA is the one that I use. And tonight, as far as like staying sober, God, I'm a little scattered. Sorry. It is so much easier for me up here, and I forgot how much I missed going to live meetings and how helpful that they are to me, to be in a room full of other like-minded people or people with the same affliction, and also just how not in your face, as in your face alcohol is in up here as compared to down on St. John. Um, it does make it a tad bit easier for me to stay sober. I'm not as on edge all the time. But with that being said, there is a part in AA when you're doing your steps, when you go through them with your sponsor, where you're supposed to start making amends to people who you have harmed through your active addiction and over the years. And the the thing that I want to talk about is, saying I'm sorry. I'm sorry for this. I'm sorry for that. Waking up the next day after a freaking going on a tear and turning to your loved ones or turning to someone and saying I'm sorry. And I'm glad I don't have to do that anymore. And I'm not saying in this that you never have to say I'm sorry for things ever again. But boy, the things you have to say sorry for, the things you have to apologize for, are vastly different. But on top of that, you know, eventually, and I know it was this way for me, I can't speak for everybody, but for me, saying I'm sorry just gets to sound so hollow coming from someone like myself. Like, I remember one time I had said some things to my oldest daughter, And I've said things to all my kids that a father should never say to their kid. Which brings to another point that I'm kind of getting a little sidetracked here, but I was talking with somebody, and they basically said to me that if you have children and you're an alcoholic, your children have been abused. The shit that we put our kids through and our families through, it's abuse. Plain and simple, it's really abuse. And they have programs for that out there too, for children of alcoholic parents and family members of alcoholics, called Al-Anon. And I don't know a whole lot about them, other than that's what they're there for. And I've never really suggested to my kids. I know that that's been suggested by if their counselors and stuff, that they should go to it, and whether they've ever gone to one of those meetings or participated in any of it, I have no idea. If they have, they haven't talked to me about it. But yeah, they're abused. But anyway, but it brings me to the point that I was trying to make a second ago, is that you can only say sorry so many times before people are just like, fuck you and your I'm sorry. And we might have good intentions when we're saying it, right? We might be full of earnestness and everything when we say, oh, I'm sorry, I'm never going to do that again, or oh, I'm sorry I said that to you. And then what inevitably happens is that we go out and our addiction takes over, and we drink again, or we drug again, and then we do something other fucking stupid ass shit, and then we gotta say, I'm sorry again. Right? How many times, how does this sound familiar, that you go out, all right, a little story, my last few days of drinking. I went out, and I was really tearing one, tying one on, and I was on a tear. And my last few days of drinking were a 4-day blackout fueled by alcohol and cocaine. And all I know is that I came to in my car on a Monday morning, and I had to, I'm pretty sure I almost died. I woke up covered in my own piss and vomit. And apparently, amongst other things, I was in the middle of town, and like I said, it's a small island. I was in the middle of town, and I'm drunk as hell, high as fuck, hanging out with people I shouldn't be hanging out with, and apparently, making out with a girl in the middle of the in the middle of the street that wasn't my wife, and amongst other things that I did. And I came to, and I knew that I had done something wrong. I didn't know that I had done all this at the time, but I knew I had done something wrong, and I went to apologize. And that, so I was talking a bit ago about my daughter, but this is more about my wife. Anyway, go to say I'm sorry to my wife, and she's just like, I don't want to freaking hear it. I don't want to hear it. You're sorry. Yep. You fucked up. You never do it again. Blah, blah, blah. Whatever. She was done. She was done with me. She was done. She was done with my antics, my bullshit, my sorries. And so, all right, now back to my daughter, my oldest daughter. I remember I was saying some shit to her husband about her, and said some pretty awful things about her. Don't remember saying them, but said some pretty awful things about her. And come to find out that I said them, and she calls me and tells me everything that I said. And I said, oh, I'm sorry. She goes, Dad, I don't want to hear I'm sorry. She goes, you know what I want you to never do it again. Save your sorries. And she's right. She's 100% right. You say it enough times, you say it so many times. I've been saying I'm sorry to them since they were little. It loses all of its emotion. It loses all of its sincerity after a while. Because they know, like, yeah, well, you might be sorry while you might not mean to do it. You still fucking do it. Right? You know, you drink, you drug, you run your mouth, you do things that you would never do when you were sober, and you say you're sorry, and then you fucking do them all over again. Every freaking time. But there is a way that you don't ever have to say, I'm sorry. Again, at least not for shit like that. You know, like, hey, sorry, sorry, I lit the couch on fire, you know. You know, stuff like that's going to happen. But, like, you know, saying I'm sorry for absolutely horrible, you never have to do it again. And there's a way, and it's it's through sobriety. It's through AA. For me, it's through AA. It's living your life doing the next right thing, one day at a time, right? So that brings me to the point of this whole thing of one of the steps in AA involves making amends, and made a list of everyone we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. So my drinking career, except when it would come to harm them or others. My drinking career is, a 30-something year drinking career. And I got sober, like I've said before. So to make amends, I made amends a long time ago to a shit ton of people. And most of them didn't want to hear it, and most of them didn't believe me and everything. But one thing that I heard, and I was talking to him, it was an older gentleman, and he's been sober for a very long time. I was talking to him at the meeting tonight. And he's like, when you go to make your amends, don't say I'm sorry. And what he said was, when you go to make your amends, start off with, I know I was wrong. Or, I have wronged you in the past and I'm here to try to make up for it. But don't say I'm sorry. Because the second that these people who you've harmed over and over and over again, the second that you start off with I'm sorry, they're gonna shut down. They're gonna go, here we go again. Oh, he's sorry. Nope. Start off by saying, I know I was wrong. And then go from there. And also, don't expect them to forgive you. You're not there for forgiveness. You're there to let them know that you wronged them. And that you know that you wronged them. However the chips may fall after that is on them. And it's not to say that your conscience is clear or all is forgiven, because it's probably not, and probably shouldn't be. It's through your actions moving forward. It's through your actions on a day-to-day basis that are going to prove to them that you've changed. I'll just give an example, again, involving my youngest daughter. I brought home my 11-month chip, and it just happened to be laying on the table. And she looked at it, and she said, what's this? And she picked it up, and she looked, and she saw what it was, because I've been in and out of this program a long time, and she knows what the chips are and what they're all about. And I haven't really said a whole lot about it. I've just been doing this one day at a time. Not, they don't really watch my videos, whether it's going to be too painful or they just don't want to hear or whatever. They don't really watch. But she just looked at me and she said that to me, just how proud she was of me, and that, while she knows that I did a lot of bad things and that there were some things that she wished never happened, she can see now that how hard I am trying and how much of a difference this recovery thing has made in my life and her life. And she gave me a great big hug. And she just said, I love you, Dad. I'm glad to see that you're doing so well. I tell you, I can get a lot of things out of the sobriety thing. I have received a lot of gifts from the sobriety thing already. But that right there, whew, boy, I tell you, one of the, if not the greatest gifts of my life, at least over the past 11 months, one of the greatest gifts. So, with that being said, you know, there is something to this AA thing. There is something to this sobriety thing. And I only wish that I could bottle it up or package it up or gift it to, you know, to you guys out there. Every day, you know, when I see somebody new at a meeting, I just keep my fingers crossed and I talk to them and I say hi and I just pray that they get it. You know, because I would love to save somebody else's family or somebody else all the years of pain and suffering that I had to put myself through and I had to put my family through before I finally got it. Man, it's a wonderful gift. I really, really, really hope that my words reach somebody and that they have an aha moment. Because, man, if I had known, if I knew then what I know now, I would have done this sobriety thing years ago. Would have saved a lot of trouble and a lot of money. But yeah. So if you're out there and you're struggling, you know, there is a way out. You can do it. One day at a time, man. That's all there is to it. Get yourself some help. You know, just realize that even one of the great, that you never have to say I'm sorry again. You never do. You know, live a good life one day at a time, do the next right thing, and you never have to say I'm sorry again. And that's all I got for tonight. And so yeah, my 1 year's, that's all I got on the subject anyway. So yeah, my 1 year's coming up. And I'm going to do a video for that. It'll be a very, you know, you know, the Wednesday after school special, or, you know, back in the 80s, there's going to be a very special episode of Disappointing Your Demons when I hit my 1 year. Motherfuckers, yeah. All right, that's all I got. So like, share, subscribe, all the bullshit. Thank you.